It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind of day when the sun starts to fall behind the trees and everything turns gold for just a little while. An old man named Harold "Harry" Jennings was driving home from the hardware store. He had a brown paper bag on the passenger seat with a few screws, a quart of oil, and a box of nails. Nothing special, just the usual things an old mechanic might pick up on a weekend. Harry was 78 years old. He still drove the same Ford Crown Victoria he'd owned for nearly 20 years. It was clean, well-kept, and a little too shiny for a man his age, at least in some people's eyes. He wore his faded U.S. Army jacket with pride. The fabric was thin at the elbows. The patches were nearly colorless from age, but he didn't wear it to impress anyone. That jacket was part of him. 24 years in uniform, 2 tours in Vietnam. Then came retirement. A quiet life back in Mason County, Alabama. A small home, a garden, a photo of his late wife on the wall. Harry didn't bother anyone, fixed things around the house, cooked his own meals, helped the neighbor's grandson with math when he could. That afternoon he was just easing down County Road 12, a slow 2-lane stretch with pine trees on either side. The speed limit was 45. Harry was doing 38. Then he saw the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. An old sheriff's cruiser had pulled out behind him from a side road. At first, Harry didn't think much of it. He hadn't done anything wrong. Still, he slowed down, turned on his signal, pulled into a small gas station lot off the road. It was a quiet spot, 2 old gas pumps, a rusty ice machine, and a row of folding chairs where a few locals sat most days, arguing about football and drinking sodas. 3 people sat out front when Harry pulled in. All of them turned to watch. Harry shut off the engine, rolled down the window, put both hands on the steering wheel. He'd done this before, too many times. 2 deputies stepped out of the cruiser. Both were white. One had a thick neck, mirrored sunglasses, and a buzz cut. The other was younger, taller, and looked like he was chewing invisible gum. The one with the sunglasses stepped up first. "You know why we pulled you over?" he asked, already suspicious. Harry answered calmly. "No, sir, I don't believe I was speeding." The younger one, gum chewer, cut in from the passenger side. "License and registration." Harry nodded slowly, reached into his wallet, handed over his papers. His military ID slid out along with them. Gum chewer grabbed it quickly. "Where'd you get this car?" asked Buzz Cut, now staring at the Ford like it didn't belong to someone like Harry. "I bought it from Jenkins Ford, almost 20 years ago," Harry replied, still keeping his voice level. Buzz Cut narrowed his eyes, looked at the plate, then back at Harry. "You match a description." "A description of what?" Harry asked, confused. "Stolen vehicle, older black male, driving a brown Ford." Harry blinked. "That's all it takes now?" Buzz Cut stiffened. "Step out of the vehicle." Harry stayed still. "I don't see why." But before he could finish, Gum Chewer yanked the door open. Cold hands grabbed him. He stumbled, fell hard. His knees hit the pavement. His old army jacket didn't cushion much. One of the folding chairs scraped loudly. A man stood up. Another reached for his phone. A woman shouted, "What are y'all doing? He didn't do anything!" "Ma'am, step back!" Buzz Cut barked. "I'm filming this!" she yelled. "You're hurting that old man!" Harry stayed calm, but his heart was racing. The cuffs clicked around his wrists. His pride stayed strong, but his body hurt. The young deputy leaned in close, whispered something about teaching respect. Harry looked up from the ground, eyes sharp, not afraid, just disappointed. They dragged him up and pushed him toward the cruiser. Harry didn't say a word, just stared out the window as they drove away, watching the trees blur past. The bruises would fade. But the story, it was just beginning. They didn't take him through the front door of the sheriff's station. No, sir. They led Harold Jennings through the back, past the dumpsters, past the holding pens, where no one could see. Not because it was standard, because they didn't want to be asked any questions. Deputy number 1, Buzzcut, his real name was Sergeant Travis Boone. He'd been with the department for nearly 15 years, thought he ran the place. Deputy number 2, Gum Chewer, was younger. Badge read C. Rayner. He still looked like he was trying to prove something. They shoved Harry through a metal door and into a cold, windowless holding room. "Sit down," Rayner ordered. Harry didn't argue. He moved slow. He had to. His knee still ached from hitting the pavement. He sat on the metal bench, hands still cuffed behind him. Rayner stood in the corner, arms crossed, chewing nothing. Boone dropped Harry's license and registration on the table, glanced at the old military jacket and sneered. "Where'd you really get this?" he asked, flipping the ID like it was a fake dollar bill. Harry looked straight ahead. "That ID's real. You can scan the barcode if you want." Boone stepped closer. "I don't care if it's real. You don't talk back to me." Rayner let out a short laugh, but even he seemed a little uneasy now. Harry kept his voice even. "I served 24 years. I deserve to be treated with respect." Boone leaned in. "Then maybe act like you earned it." Harry turned to him, calm, cold. "Respect isn't something you handcuff." Before Boone could respond, the door opened again. A younger deputy poked his head in. "Sergeant, we got a problem." Boone rolled his eyes. "What now?" "Some lady at the gas station posted a video. Says y'all roughed up a veteran Boone's jaw clenched. Let me guess. Station on County Road 12? "Yes, sir." Boone looked at Rayner. "How many saw it?" "4. Maybe 5. One had a phone. I told her to step back." Well, she didn't. Back in the lobby, the phones were already ringing. Local news, civil rights groups. A pastor from Montgomery had reposted the video with a caption that read, "This is what justice looks like in Alabama, 2025. Inside the holding room, Harry sat quietly. But the world outside those walls, it was catching fire. Then came the sheriff himself, Sheriff Douglas Merrill, bald, red-faced, 6 years on the job, never faced a storm like this one. He stepped into the room, trying to sound calm. "Get those cuffs off him, now." Boone didn't move. "I said now," the sheriff barked. Rayner stepped forward, unlocked the cuffs. Harry rubbed his wrists, but didn't say a word. Merrill turned toward him. "Mr. Johnson?" Harry raised an eyebrow. "It's Jennings." "Right, Mr. Jennings. There's been a mistake. We're going to straighten this out." Harry stood up, slow. "You already had your chance, Sheriff." Merrill tried to sound firm, but it came out hollow. "There was another call, a similar vehicle. My deputies acted on incomplete information." Harry picked up his jacket, dusted it off. They acted on something else. And just like that, he walked past them, out the door. No yelling, no speeches, just silence. But that silence? It spoke louder than anything. Outside, 2 reporters had already arrived. One young woman stepped forward with a mic. "Mr. Jennings, is it true they thought you stole your own car?" Harry looked at her, then at the camera, and said softly, "You saw what they did." His car had been towed. It sat in the lot like some forgotten prop in a bad play. An officer fumbled with paperwork to release it. But Harry wasn't in a hurry. He just stood there, jacket in hand, looking up at the clouds, because something in the air had shifted, and inside that sheriff's office, a bigger storm was coming. Back inside the station, the mood had changed. Fast. Deputies whispered in the hallways. Some stared at their phones, Some pretended not to know what was happening, but they all knew. The video was out, and it wasn't just local anymore. 30,000 views, then 60, then a retweet from a civil rights attorney with 500,000 followers. His caption, "A 78-year-old vet cuffed like a criminal. Alabama still hasn't learned." Then came the phone calls. From Montgomery, from Birmingham, even from Washington. And right when things felt like they couldn't get worse, 2 black SUVs pulled into the lot. Matte paint, dark windows, federal plates. Nobody had called them. Nobody needed to. 2 men stepped out. Sharp suits, clean shoes, faces like stone. They didn't knock. They walked straight in. The deputy at the front desk stood up so fast he knocked over his coffee. One of the men flashed a badge. "Special Agent Nathan Reeves, Federal Civil Rights Division." The other followed. "Agent Marco Velez, we need to speak with your sheriff." Sheriff Merrill met them in his office. He didn't smile, didn't offer coffee, just nodded. "We received footage," Agent Reeves began, voice calm but firm, "and a full incident report regarding Harold Jennings." Merrill's lips tightened. "That's sealed unless—" Reeves placed a folder on the desk. "You'll want to read this." Merrill opened it slowly. Read the first page, stopped, looked up. "You're telling me he's a—" "What?" Velez answered. "Mr. Jennings is a cooperating party in an ongoing federal investigation. Civil rights, 3 counties, multiple departments, including yours." Merrill blinked. "We didn't know." "You weren't supposed to," Reeves said. "But now you're part of the file." They didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They didn't need to. Reeves motioned to the monitor. "Pull up cruiser cam footage. We want to see how your deputies matched that description." Boone, now red-faced, muttered from the side, "The footage won't show." "We'll see for ourselves," Agent Velez cut in. 10 minutes later, the video played on screen. Harry's car pulled over, no swerving, no speeding. Then the moment, door opens. Deputy Rayner grabs him. No resistance, no raised voice. Just an old man, trying to catch himself before the pavement met his face. Reeves paused the video, leant back in his chair. "That's a federal witness you threw on the ground. If anything had happened to him—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Outside the office door, Deputy Gray peeked through the window. He whispered to the guy beside him, "We're in deep, huh?" But Gray didn't know the half of it, because the fallout had only just begun. Boone? He disappeared into the break room, slammed the door, and ran cold water over his face like it could wash off what he'd done. Rayner? He sat stiff at his desk, eyes on his phone. The video was now at 90,000 views, and rising. The agent stayed for hours, reviewed footage, collected logs, took notes. Reeves closed the file with a soft thud. Velez packed it into a black case. Then they looked up. "We'll need official statements from Deputies Boone and Rayner, today." Sheriff Merrill didn't argue. "I'll get them." But even he knew this wasn't going away. Not this time, because the internet doesn't have a back button. And people had already seen too much. The agents didn't wait. They called Deputy Rayner in first. He looked nervous, sat down slow, hands in his lap. Agent Velez didn't rush him. "Tell us what happened. Start from the stop." Rayner swallowed hard. "I didn't know who he was," he mumbled. "Boone said the car matched a stolen vehicle, said the guy fit the description." "And you believed him?" Velez asked gently. "I mean, yeah, at first. But when I saw the papers and the military ID, I wasn't sure." "Did Mr. Jennings resist?" "No." "Did he raise his voice? Threaten you?" He was calm the whole time. Velez nodded. "So why didn't you speak up?" Rayner stared at the floor. "I didn't think I had the right." "That is your right," Velez said quietly. "That's your job." Then came Boone's turn. But he wasn't nervous. He strutted in like it was just another day, arms crossed, voice loud. "This whole thing's blown out of proportion," he said. "We got a tip. We acted on it." "Did you touch Mr. Jennings?" Agent Reeves asked. "I didn't throw him down. He resisted." Reeves slid a photo across the table. It was from the cruiser cam. Harry's face frozen mid-fall, knees hitting the pavement, hands out, cuffs coming down. "He didn't resist," Reeves said. Boone said nothing, and that silence, it said everything. But out front, the story wasn't dying down. It was exploding. News vans pulled in from Montgomery and Birmingham. Signs started popping up outside the station. One said, "Justice for Mr. Jennings." Inside, things got worse. Deputy Gray leaned into the sheriff's office. There's someone here asking to speak with you." "Who?" Sheriff Merrill asked. Gray hesitated. "Says her name's Brenda Parks. She filmed the arrest." The agents looked at each other. "She's faster than we thought," Velez muttered. "We'll take it from here," Reeves said. Brenda stood in the lobby. She was in her 40s, worked nights at the hospital, had never once stepped foot in the sheriff's office. But today wasn't about comfort. It was about conscience. "You hear about Mr. Jennings?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Reeves said. "We saw your footage. Would you be willing to give us a copy and a brief statement?" Brenda handed over her phone. "I saved the full video, didn't edit it, didn't cut anything." Reeves took it carefully. "You may have just saved a man's life." Brenda looked him straight in the eye. "He saved mine once." She paused, voice softer now. "When my son was sick, real sick. Harry paid for our groceries. Wouldn't take a dime back. Told him I'd pay him someday." She nodded toward the video. "Looks like I did." Out on the sidewalk, a crowd was growing. Not loud, not wild, just present. People were showing up, veterans, teachers, neighbors, pastors, old men with folded flags, young kids with handmade signs. It wasn't just about Harry anymore. It was about every name they'd buried, every bruise that healed in silence, every time someone said, "Let it go." And in the middle of all that noise, Harry stayed quiet. He didn't post, didn't speak. He just stood near the back of the crowd, arms folded, jacket on. Brenda stood beside him, still filming. "You all right?" she asked. Harry looked straight ahead. "I've been worse," he said. "But maybe this time, they won't forget so fast." And he was right, because this time the story had legs, and they were walking it straight to the State House. The video of Harry's arrest played on the news again that night, not just local, national, CBS, NBC, even a push alert from the Washington Post, another disturbing case of excessive force in the Deep South. Harry didn't want to watch, but his neighbor's teenage son, Malik, came running over. "Mr. Harry, you're on TV." Harry opened the door in his slippers, eyes tired. "I didn't do anything special," he said. Malik shook his head. "No, really. They're talking about what happened. You, the deputies, the lady who filmed it, everything." Harry sat down on the old couch, turned on the news. There he was, on the ground, cuffs tight around his wrists, blood on the sleeve of his army jacket. The anchor spoke calmly. Harold Jennings, a 78-year-old Vietnam veteran, was arrested after being wrongly accused of stealing his own car. Federal agents later confirmed Mr. Jennings is part of a civil rights investigation involving multiple law enforcement agencies. Malik stared at the screen, wide-eyed. "You were working with the FBI?" Harry turned the volume down. "They came to me," he said. "They wanted someone who remembers how things used to be, someone who's seen the same names doing the same things, year after year." "You never told anyone?" "I wasn't supposed to." That night, Harry noticed a car slow roll past his house, didn't stop, just lingered, then rolled on, It happened again the next night, and the one after that. But Harry never mentioned it. He just sipped his coffee, watched the trees sway, waited. Then came the knock. Not a reporter, not a deputy. A man in a blue polo with a Department of Justice logo, clean haircut, nervous face. He introduced himself. "Mr. Jennings, my name's Curtis Daniels. I'm with the D.C. office." Harry didn't shake his hand, just raised an eyebrow. "You drove all the way down here for me?" Daniels nodded. "Wanted to deliver this personally." He reached into his bag, pulled out a framed letter. Harry took it slowly. Thick paper, gold seal at the top. A letter of official acknowledgement from the U.S. Attorney General, thanking him for his assistance in a federal civil rights case spanning 4 counties and over a dozen officers now under review. Harry read every word, didn't smile, but something in his face softened. "You tell your people," he said slowly, "this ain't about recognition. It's about respect. Folks like me, we didn't survive this long to be treated like suspects in our own towns." Daniels nodded. "We understand, and we're working on it." Harry looked out at the trees. "Just make sure you finish the job." The next morning, he mailed the letter to his niece in Ohio, told her to keep it safe. He wrote a note. "I don't need it on my wall. I need it to mean something." That weekend, the people of Mason County gathered quietly at the local park. No cameras, no banners, just neighbors. Brenda brought lemonade. Pastor Carter said a few words. A boy handed Harry a card that read, "Thank you for not giving up." Harry stood under the shade of a pecan tree, watched kids toss a football, mothers braid their daughters' hair, teenagers argue over soda flavors. For once, nobody was staring at him. Nobody was asking questions. Just living. Brenda stepped beside him. "You think it's really changing?" she asked. Harry shrugged. "Change don't come in waves," he said. "Comes in drops. You don't notice it right away, but over time, the bucket fills." She smiled. "I'll take that." He looked at her. "You started this. You stood up when it counted." Brenda laughed. "Are you kidding? I was shaking so bad I thought they'd snatch my phone and run me off." "But you didn't run." They didn't say anything after that. Just watched the sun dip low, the sky turning gold, just like the day it all began. Later that night, Harry folded his army jacket, placed it on the chair by the door, looked at the blank spot on the wall where the letter could have gone, then glanced out the window, nodded once to the quiet street, and turned out the light. Some stories end softly, but they still echo. Harry's wasn't just about what happened. It was about what shouldn't keep happening. And if we're really listening this time, maybe we won't forget so fast.